Alright, you're recording and I see the file there, so head back, hit start, so we can get through this, which, yeah, so there is more to this DLC. Is it going to tell me? Is it going to tell me stuff? I don't remember if they do that in DLC. Seems like no. So anyway, last week I had successfully defeated Belial. And then the guy, I don't remember his name, unfortunately, but the human that had assisted him, more or less unwittingly, I mean, he was coerced, not realizing that there was, the Demon Lord Belial actually had no real power over him. But he requested that death end his life. So now we're going to be looking for the human survivors. And I have, you know, it's just three things I've listed here. Definitely don't want to thing. Well, maybe I. Although here, let me that. Let me. Where? Where's there something that's suggestive where we can find stuff? Nowhere! Okay. In which case, then, I'm actually gonna go back. It might be you talk to Uriel and she tells you. Don't quite be. I did think of what game I will go to after I finish Darksiders 2 off, but I'm gonna leave it. I'm not going to say what it is just in case I change my mind or something. So, which is this really going to be a comfortable way to stand all the time? I'm kind of curious. Because I don't think I would be comfortable standing like that.
Horseman.
Okay. That is. Well, I guess I just have to go by the Raven. So. Which...
Dust. What do you see?
And you're saying go. Okay.
Show me the way.
You've got to be king.
Why have you come to
What?
me, Reaper?
Why are you telling me to go back here? Okay, you know, I'm gonna go back to the hideout then. And try that again. I am fairly certain you do go and find survivors. I just don't remember where. Alright, so the three things that I got here. One is talking about the Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition. One would be the NZXT H1 recall thing. And then the one I think I'll start with is the NVIDIA news. So NVIDIA made a couple of announcements this week. One is that they will be offering sorry, scratching my eye a little bit. Is that they will be offering special HX, I think is the naming in there, but CMPs, which are basically, I don't remember where it was, but I saw one place suggest that it looks like it's NVIDIA deciding to make available dies that would not be suitable for GeForce GPUs, as you know, with certain things disabled in there, making them into dedicated mining cards that they can then sell to miners, with the hope that it will alleviate some of the pressure on supply. It's kind of weird though, because
Dust.
let me just see. Where do you go? It's kind of curious though, because fortunately Anantech had a table that shared it. The hash rates for them are not that. Why don't I remember being here? I feel like I would have been. They're not that impressive compared to the already available GeForce GPUs. So seems a little odd. But, you know, it'll all come down to pricing, because if the theory is correct, that it is actually that they are failed dies, that means that they would otherwise be thrown out. So by not throwing them out, NVIDIA will be making money that they weren't before. So, yeah, but pricing is definitely going to be important. Something else I think is worth noting, though, is that mining is not the only pressure on supply at the moment. I mean, there's also just the large demand, there's limited supply of different things, like GDDR6 is one thing that I saw as limited, and that's part of the reason that you're seeing such low availability for AMD and NVIDIA cards. And, seriously, what are you doing?
What do you see?
Yes, I'm talking. That's also why you see limited availability for AMD and NVIDIA cards, since both are using GDDR6. But still, it may help. You know, if they get the pricing right, that'll help. The other thing that is a bit more interesting is the drivers for the RTX 3060 will apparently have a feature in there. Yeah, I could have just gone right here. It just seemed like it's only going to go down there. In panels. How many? Accuracy. Yes. The drivers for the 3060 will apparently have something that will monitor and recognize when a GPU, when the 3060 is being used for Ethereum mining. Apparently it's somehow able to recognize certain, well, the fact that it would be able to recognize certain algorithms based on what the GPU is being asked to do is, I don't know, that makes some sense to me that that's possible, but, and then it would have the hash rate so that they are artificially less desirable for mining, which some people are pointing out, you're basically going to be selling a card that intentionally is going to underperform. What do you do for people then that, it's like, they buy it for gaming, but it's like, when I'm not gaming, I'm going to be doing that. So there is some question about how consumer friendly this is. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting thing that goes on with this. I want to look this up. I where am I going? I want to look up the Demon Lord Belial stuff. Okay, there. Hopefully this gets me to it. Oh, never mind. I thought that it was, though, that you did actually find people. That was possible for you to find them, but based on what I just saw here, a synopsis for it, actually, it does seem that it ends there. Let me just check on a walkthrough to make certain. Okay. Oh. Okay, I'm gonna do one thing then for leaving. But yeah, apparently it is, that was the end. And I just, because I thought that there was some line about, you know, if you see any humans or that there might be some survivors. And you know what, the funny thing is, I think I made that exact same mistake back when I first played the game. Well, first played the DLC. I think I did. Anyway, going back to the 3060 stuff, it is going to be interesting to see what happens. And it's also worth noting that NVIDIA will not be trying to put such a limitation onto the any already released GPU, which makes sense. You can't, because somebody could just use an older driver and boom, it's gone. But it will be interesting to see how long it takes. NVIDIA is saying that there is no workaround. You're not going to be able to hack the drivers to get around it. Yeah, I kind of have a feeling that it's, you know, everyone says their stuff isn't hackable until somebody succeeds. I want to check something over here on that thing, because that's also part of it. Nope, there it is. Did I get the message that I got this at the end of the last part? I don't remember. But I figured I would be getting something, and yeah, the synopsis thing confirmed that. You can get his trident, the Belial's trident. I don't want it though, especially because I'm kind of constrained on space in my inventory anyway. But yeah. But this has been kind of a waste. Ah well. But yeah, so it will be interesting to see what ultimately comes of this move. Because I'm not super hopeful that it will make as large a difference as a lot of people want it. But that's me. That's just me. Realistically, assuming they get the price right, the offering of the specialized mining cards might be better. That is very much a might, though, because it's also the cards won't have resale value afterwards. Because that's one thing that happens, is miners will just, once the GPUs that they're using are no longer useful for it, they will just drop them. They'll just sell them. And because they're so specialized, they're not going to get as much value when being sold used than any of the GeForce GPU, because gamers can buy those up. And sometimes they're in not horrible shape, other times they are. Like that happened, I've talked about that before, that happened with AMD in the R9 200 series, I think it was, where it's like AMD just produced enough at the time for all the miners to be happy, and then they suddenly sold all of them. All the miners sold all of them once they were no longer needed, once mining crashed then, and people were then buying them up, these really hard used, constantly running cards. And so when they performed badly or their fans failed and such, people complained to AMD instead of recognizing that, oh wait, I bought a used card that had been really pushed hard. I don't remember, let me do this. I don't remember if this is straight to the boss fight or not. It might. And I don't think I'm really ready for the boss fight. Achievement unlocked, the root of corruption.
Have you ever wondered, Death, why you are untouched, while those around you wither and rot in the grip of corruption? Could it be that you are already blackened by the sin of betrayal? How can you defeat that which seethes in your own heart? You cannot stop me without forever damning your soul! So be it.
Absalom. First Nephilim is the Avatar of Chaos, as it says. Whoa, he hits you kind of hard. Ow. Let me dodge. Come on. Ow, ow. No, wrong one. Wrong one. There's a reason why I really do not like wheels like that on PC. It is so easy to miss. Ow. He's powerful. He's the final boss. He's supposed to be powerful. And he just got bigger. There's a reason why I keep these specific arm blades, sorry. It's a good way to get back the wrath energy. Need some health. To do some damage before hitting that. He was taking damage. I would have thought they would make him invulnerable doing that, so you had to interact with this. I guess I may just have to talk about some stuff during the credits. I am ungenuine. I mean, true, this is only at normal difficulty. But it still is. This is a lot less difficult than I was expecting or remembering. Would you mind dying? Here we go. Is it because I spent so much time in the apocalyptic at the apocalyptic level of difficulty, or maybe the time I spent in the DLC. This really wasn't an easier boss battle than I can remember any of the others being. It was easier than Samael that I did a few parts ago.
Take my hand once more, brother.
It's a trap! Boss, stroll in the demonic park, and for my brother. Number 4. Well, it's not shown as a digit, but F-O-U-R.
I've killed Absalom. Stopped the corruption. I stand at last at the Well of Souls, with no idea what I must do next.
It is quite simple, and yet most difficult.
I'm in no humor for riddles, Crowfather.
You may tap the power of the well to return the kingdom of man, or you may resurrect the Nephilim. But know that choosing one will forever doom the other.
My brother War. I would protect him above all.
To return man to the earth will require a sacrifice. Thus from death came life, and the seeds of humanity were resown. But death's journey was not ended. On the shattered earth, his brother War had slain the destroyer.
You will be hunted. The White City for certain. The Council, and there will be others. You would wage this war alone?
No. Not alone.
War had broken the seventh seal, summoning the horsemen of the apocalypse. And the number of the riders shall ever be 4.
Yep. Which is kind of confirmation again about how the ending of Darksiders worked. Where, yes, War was killed, but because the last seal was destroyed at the same time, he was brought back to life, because not even death stops the apocalypse. Alright. So we got the 2 other things I want to talk about over the credits, so sorry that I'm talking over these guys. Hey, this does mean, though, that next week I can start on the next game, which I'll talk about that. Yeah, so the NZXT H1 case recall, which is basically a, if you have one, don't use it right now. Contact NZXT so you can get a repair kit, which, so it looks like the H1 is something of a compact case, and like several compact cases actually. It uses a special PCIe riser attachment, so that you can place the GPU in a different spot than just mounted on the motherboard as normal. The thing is, the PCB for that riser is at best poorly designed. At worst, it's just straight up horrible, bad design. Why would anyone do that? Where the power, a 12-volt plane in the PCB. So PCB has multiple layers to it, and like if you look at a PCB, like I got the sweet Super 16 macro pad build on my desk right here, and I have the 1 of 60 HSC keyboard build a few feet away from me. If I look at either of their PCBs, I can see traces on them, which are basically wires built into the PCB to connect, like the pins of the switches to the pins of the controller, right? There's also, though, planes, where it's not just like simple wires that are in the structure of the PCB, but an entire layer that is just like a copper foil. And chances are, both, actually all three of the NK65 as well as the other two built, the one-up keyboards built, have a ground plane in there, which is basically just the whole size of the PCB. There's a plane that's for grounding, that just sends to ground. And the reason you do use a plane like that, and you also see power planes, the reason you do that is that way, if you have a component that needs power, you don't need to run a special trace for it, you just tap into that plane. The problem with that PCB design in the H1 is that for whatever reason, and this is one of those, why would you ever do this? The 12-volt power plane goes all the way over to the screw holes. And not just they're over by it, but it's actually so close to it that just by installing the screw and removing it, because it's not clad or anything, you're just, the screws going through the fiberglass of the PCB, I think they're made of fiberglass, whatever the material, because it's going through that, what will eventually happen is it will break apart the, hey, it's also got the DLC guys in here, see Belial up there. But anyway, it breaks apart the PCB enough to expose the copper layer, the copper foil that is the 12-volt plane. Well, it's the screw that originally came with is metal. And any metal screw would also have this problem, where if the thread of the screw is in contact with that plane, it can now complete a circuit because the case of a computer is grounded. It's grounded through connections to the power supply. Like, a motherboard has a ground plane in it that does connect to the screw holes. It's actually very common to have screw holes be grounded. I mean, it's like I can see special cladding on the Super 16 macro pad, and I would definitely believe, at first look, that's connected to the ground plane, so that the screws cannot build up and hold some sort of charge. That's also the case for motherboards. So, the cladding at the standoff screw holes, it grounds the motherboard tray, which is connected to the case, so it grounds the case. Well, the screw for the H1's riser connects to the case. So you now have the 12-volt plane connecting to the screw that's connected to the case that is grounded through the motherboard. You now have a short. And it's a PCIe 12-volt connection there. PCIe is, it's 12 volt, but it's also potentially a lot of current. And that's where the problem is, because suddenly you are pumping a lot of power through this very small component on the riser. That is not meant to move that much current. And Gamers Nexus is the place that was really, really pushing that this is a significant problem. And in one of their videos that they did, they actually got it to ignite. Right, so an actual legitimate fire hazard because of the short circuit. They then continued to investigate and confirmed that yes, it is indeed, because you're getting a short from the 12-volt plane through the case. And they did that by isolating the motherboard so that the case basically wouldn't be grounded, and then using a very thin wire that would burn out once that much current hits it. So it wouldn't start a fire because the wire would burn out before the fire would start. Now, if you have one of these cases, and even if you got if you got a version of the case that came with a nylon screw and nut for that, that is still not good enough. Because using that, it while yes, nylon is non-conductive, and also the screws are apparently small enough that they can't actually grip into the PCB. That's why there's the nut. But it's still the fire hazard still exists. The short circuit risk still exists. It's just you don't have the metal screw to cause the problem immediately. Oh yeah, that's right, we have that.
You are alone, Lilith? Where are my Nephilim?
My prince,
The end war is upon us. Yet instead of the army you promised me, death has returned man to the balance.
I await your punishment.
This time, Lilith, you will get no pleasure from it.
Yeah. You can always just beat Absalom again. Do that. How do I try and remember how exactly I completely escaped? I think I'm. Yeah. I'll just do this. Close that. But yeah, so the reason why it's even with the nylon screw, you shouldn't really use the H1 is because it isn't. If you ever forget and put in a metal screw, the fire hazard returns. Basically, well, it returns as this can happen, and it is still technically a low probability of it happening, of you having the short circuit and the fire starting. But because it is entirely reasonable that it will eventually happen, that's why yes, there is a recall. You should not use the case until NZXT creates and sends out replacement risers, which it looks like should be relatively easy to install. It's just 2 screws. But yeah, and it's also weird to me because like, why would you design a PCB that has a power plane go anywhere near a screw like that? And it also, by the design, looks like there's no reason to have any circuitry go over near the screw. You just need the fiberglass of the PCB out there so that it can be secured with the screw. Alright, so that's enough of that one. I just have the Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition, which kind of sucks that I don't have more that I can do in the game. Because I want to talk about that a lot. But I do just want to quickly add that ending of Darksiders 2 is part of the reason for myself, and I'm certain plenty of others, were really looking forward to the franchise continuing. Darksiders 3 hasn't really given us the payoff on it. Maybe a Darksiders 4, which I do hope is being worked on. Just because that ending there is Lilith, who we learned in a much earlier part, is the one who created the Nephilim. But how she addresses the figure that we don't see as Prince, the implication is Prince of Darkness or Evil, Satan, basically, who would, he wants an army so that he can prove victorious from this apocalypse. So he's not too happy now. But yeah, so Darksiders 2 is set before the events of Darksiders 1, or at least somewhat in parallel. Darksiders 3 is set before. And interestingly, in that one, like, Fury is still alive at the end. It's like, here, Death is actually dead, technically, and War's death at the end of Darksiders is, the most recent event in the series. So, yeah, Darksiders 4 will hopefully prove interesting. Just, come on! Make it already. Actually, I would like to believe that it's at least in pre-production stages at the moment, and by that I mean, like they have story figured out, probably some storyboarding kind of thing. So it's like they might not be doing active development on it, like actually figuring out code and such, but I would like to believe that they have at least some of the stuff figured out, so that it's not like they have to start anew to get the game going. Yeah, so the last thing, and it is kind of funny. This was a THQ game initially, but it's now THQ Nordic. Metro Exodus was also originally a THQ game, is now Deep Silver, even though that's now under Embracer Group, so a sister company to THQ Nordic. So yeah, Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition is coming, which is pretty neat. Because Metro Exodus is a good game. Was and is a good game. It's gonna have the whole ray tracing pipeline apparently has been rebuilt to be more efficient, better optimized, and enable new effects. So it will be interesting to look at. It will also support DLSS 2.0, which I may try to make the point in the news item I wrote up on this, I can still remember very clearly in Metro Exodus when looking at DLSS on the RTX 2060, because remember, the original version of DLSS 1.0, at 1920 by 1080, which is the highest resolution that I really have access to, without enabling something like a dynamic super resolution for NVIDIA or virtual super resolution for AMD, and I don't want to use either of those because they introduce new processing stuff and such I don't want. Anyway, DLSS 1.0 at 1920 by 1080 was only available on the RTX 2060, but it still is. I can so clearly remember in Volga, polygon popping on the trees where the branches are suddenly disappearing, which polygon popping is you have a detail that it falls between two sampling positions, so it's not being shown. Well, DLSS, any version, renders at lower internal resolution, so the distance between sample points is greater. And then when you upscale it, it's still greater, so the polygon popping can stand out more, and it really did. And also some of the branches went from looking like branches to like pencil tips, like sharpened pencils, and just very simple conical shape going down to a point. And it's like it looked quite bad. So, again, DLSS 2.0, happy to hear that. I still am not completely satisfied with DLSS 2.0. Look at the MechWarrior 5 performance analysis that I did, and you'll see why. I talk about it plenty there. But it looks like it might also have, because in the table of the different features that you will see, it not only mentions DirectX 12 Ultimate for DXR 1.0, sorry, not DXR 1.1, which is the DXR is the DirectX ray tracing, so it has more effects that are possible there and more technical capabilities. But it also mentioned variable rate shading, which I'm very interested in. I'm more interested in that than in DLSS because it's more agnostic. So it's not limited to just the RTX GPUs. Even though well, actually, I don't remember. Is the 16 series, is the GTX 16 series, does that support variable rate shading? I don't remember. It might. It might. Because it's still Turing. But yeah, it is kind of, the situation right now is variable rate shading is only supported by, I know for a fact, is supported on GPUs that also support ray tracing. Turing, what the GTX 16 series might also support. I just don't. You know, let me actually just try looking that up since I'm not in the game. GTX 16 variable rate shading. Because when so far the only sorry, I just pulled some, yep, that's not what I'm looking for because that's VR works. Here we go. Yes, okay, so the 16 series does also have variable rate shading, so that would be a GPU that has VRS but not ray tracing capabilities, or at least not dedicated ray tracing capabilities. Okay. Anyway, the Serious Sam 4 is the only game I have that uses variable rate shading in there, that has that as an option. And with the RTX 2060, I had it set to 4x super sampling. Okay, so super sampling is the brute force of anti-aliasing. Had that enabled, was still getting pretty decent 60 FPS performance using VRS, thanks to using VRS on an RTX 2060 at 1920 by 1080. That's nuts. It's like, that really is pretty nuts to see that GPU achieve that level of performance. Now, I could see in the distance how, yes, the quality was degraded versus just SSAA 4X, but a lot of things in the foreground looked markedly better, and I still had decent performance. There were also some issues, like the gun. I saw some blocking on that's like, that should really be at the shading rate of 1, which is no reduction, but it looked like it was being reduced. Not sure why. But that's also something that even at the time when I was doing that, I figured that'll probably be patched. You know, it's like they may just not realize that it was being caught in that. Don't know. So, but regardless, I am very much looking forward to that. And the Enhanced Edition will be the Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition. Everyone with a current copy will of Metro Exodus will get that for free. So, and that's supposed to be out in spring, I believe. I'm going by memory, so I could be wrong on that. And I will probably try to do a performance analysis with it. I just don't know when. Because I would really like to do that. I'm very much hoping that I will finally be able to get one of the AMD 6000 series GPUs, RX 6000 series GPUs, which also support variable rate shading and ray tracing and all that stuff. And I would kind of prefer it if I could wait to do a performance analysis on something like Metro Exodus Enhanced Edition till after I have that GPU. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get one because, in case you haven't noticed, it's very hard to get those, to get any of them, at least at any reasonable price. Alright, so I've been talking long enough. Unfortunately, if I had really been forward-thinking and also had realized that I was going to be finishing the game now, I would have prepared the thumbnail for the next game. Yeah. But no, I figured, I did Red Faction Guerrilla prior to doing the Darksiders game. Why not do Armageddon? I don't think I've done that. I'm pretty sure I haven't. Let me actually check that and make sure that my memory's not just failing me. That'd be in here. Nope, that was all just Red Faction Guerrilla. So yeah, I think I will do Red Faction Armageddon, which I do enjoy. I do kind of wonder why I didn't do that before. There's probably a reason, I just don't remember. But yeah, I do enjoy Red Faction Armageddon. It is a pretty fun game. And I have also, I know I've played that game through at the highest difficulty at least I think the highest difficulty. Does it have like a hardcore mode where you die if you, like you lose a save if you die? I don't remember. If that's the case, I haven't done it on that. But I know I've played through it multiple times. So yeah, should be fun. I do enjoy the game. I know it is not a sequel to Guerrilla. That is very true. It is not a sequel to Red Faction Guerrilla. It is more like a sequel to the original Red Faction, though. And it is still a fun game and lets you do a lot of neat stuff. So yeah, I am looking forward to that. I will just need to put together some thumbnail stuff for it and install it, and I should be good to go. Unless I can remember that there was some reason why I didn't do it before. And there might be a reason. There might be a very good reason. Like, it doesn't want to... You know what? That actually could be it. Let me check. There are some games that I cannot play on the desktop because of the 32 threads. But that's actually a search I can do later. For now, though, just unless I discover that there is going to be a problem, just go with I should be good to play that next week. Yeah, see you then.